Hello and welcome to my channel. In this section of the video, we are going to cover 10 practice questions that you should expect to have gone through before you take your PMP exam. So these are the practice questions which I've also created. However, my extra effort was to link these specific practice questions to pages or sections in the PMBOK edition 8, where you can also go and make reference in case there are some weak areas you've discovered as you practice. You can also make reference to the PMBOK, and then you can also get some explanations. So these 10 practice questions, they are also helpful because we are going to cover the question, and then we are also going to cover the answer, and then we are also going to make a reference to the PMBOK 8th edition, which is the current version, where you are going to be able to go through the concepts, the ideas, the domain, and also the process groups. So these 10 questions, they are going to be a mixture of easy, hard, and very hard questions. But I believe the moment you go through them, the moment you understand the concept of eliminating some of these answers, the better for you as you go to as you go to your PMP exam. So let's move on. Practice question number 71. A project has an approved scope, but users discover a missing regulatory data field during EAT. What should the project manager do? Okay. So what is our problem statement here? The project has approved scope. So scope has been approved. But users, they are discovering missing regulatory data fields during EAT. So something regulatory is mandatory, okay? So let us look at the answers now. A, analyze the requirement, compliance, impact, and change path. Okay, I like the word analyze. Analyze allows you to have more information on the issue. Reject it because UAT is too late. You cannot reject this. This is a regulatory issue. It's mandatory. You have to do it. So this is not an answer. Tell users to fix it after go live. You cannot postpone regulatory issues. It has to be fixed during this project. Then remove UAT from the plan. There is no way you can remove UAT. This is the only opportunity for users to test before they go live, making this incorrect answer. So the best answer here is A, which is to analyze the requirements, compliance impact, and also the change path. Right, and what is our reference here? We have a scope performance domain, which says it covers requirements, scope definition, scope structure, scope monitoring, and also validation of completed deliverables. So the best mindset here is to treat late discovered requirements with analysis and governance. Always analyze everything that is coming to you in a project environment. Try to understand the impact, to assess the impact on cost, risk, quality, and so on and so forth. So this is a compliant issue. So you have to make sure that you analyze it before you implement it. Making A the best answer because regulatory gaps, they require impact assessment rather than just automatic rejection. In some cases, you cannot reject something that is coming from the regulator. Making this A the best answer. So practice question number 72. In experienced team, they want less detailed task reporting. Sponsors still need milestone visibility. What should the project manager do? What is our problem statement here? We have an experienced team that wants less detailed task because they're experienced. So they don't want something to be very detailed, okay? That they are reporting to the project sponsor. This project sponsor still needs milestone visibility. What should the project manager do? Let us go through the answers now. Tailor reporting to lean maturity while preserving sponsor visibility, okay? Okay, so tailor reporting to team maturity while preserving the sponsor visibility. I like this one, team maturity, because they said they're experienced. Remove all reporting. You don't remove reporting. Reporting is very important in every project environment. Increase reporting for everyone. You don't increase reporting. You need to tailor reporting, making this one incorrect. Let each team member report in any format. This does not work in a project environment. There must be a tailored format for each and every team that is working the project. Making A the best answer in this particular scenario. So you need to tailor reporting. The sponsor, he wants to see visibility. This is what the sponsor is asking for. And also in terms of tailoring, you have experienced team members. They don't want these detailed tasks for reporting, okay? So tailoring is the best here. It will satisfy both teams and also the sponsor. And what is our reference to our PMBOK is tailoring, which is also on page 103 to page 112. Also, the best mindset that you can use to answer this is You need to tailor control to fit maturity and also stakeholder needs. This is a very important mindset for this. Tailoring is very important in every environment, whether it's communication, it's documentation, it's reporting, and so on and so forth. It has to be tailored according to the stakeholders and also according to the needs. Making A the best answer, because the project manager can reduce unnecessary detail while maintaining meaningful oversight. Making A the best answer. Practice question number 73. The sponsor asks the project manager to approve a change outside delegated authority. What should the project manager do? Okay, so the sponsor is asking the project manager to approve a change that is outside project manager's authority. What should the project manager do? A, direct the request to appropriate change authority with impact analysis. It makes sense because this is beyond the delegated authority. So it has to go to someone else beyond the project manager. Approve it because the sponsor added, no, you cannot do this. This is beyond the authority as a project manager. Right? Ask the team to start while approval is pending. It has to be approved. In project management, something to be done, it has to be approved first for future reference. So this cannot be the answer. Ignore the sponsor. You cannot ignore issues or risks in a project environment, making this one incorrect answer. So the best answer here is A. You need to direct, okay? You need to direct the request to appropriate change authority because this is beyond your authority as a project manager. Even if the sponsor is asking this to be done, you still need to do the right thing in a project environment. And what is our reference to PMBOK? Governance performance domain, okay, which is on page 10 to 37. What does it say? It says it supports alignment, accountability, decision path, performance monitoring, assessing, implementing changes, and also governance mechanism. So in this case, this is where we are talking of our governance mechanism. It has to go to the right change authority. And the best mindset to apply to this particular scenario is respect authority limits and also governance. This is very important. In a project environment, you should respect your limits as a project manager. Making A the best answer because changes should be approved by the right authority, okay, using proper impact information. So the proper impact information, this is what the project manager is actually giving. He has done the impact analysis and then giving it to the right authority, making A the best answer in this scenario. Right, practice question number 74. A project manager sees the project A project manager sees that the project is delivering outputs but not enabling the intended business outcome. What should they do? Okay, so what is our problem statement here? Project manager is seeing that the project is delivering outputs but it's not enabling intended business outcome. What should they do? So A, engage sponsors and stakeholders to assess value alignment and corrective options. I like this one, value alignment. Continue producing outputs without decision. This is dangerous in a project environment. You now need to understand whatever you're producing, is it giving value or not? Making this one incorrect answer. Close the project immediately. You don't close the project because the outcomes are not intended, are not aligned to the intended business outcome. No. You need to assess and understand from stakeholders what is the intended business outcome, and then you start aligning your deliverables to the outcomes, making this one incorrect answer. Stop measuring outcome. You don't stop measuring outcome. You cannot do this in a project environment. So in this scenario, it makes A the best answer. You need to engage the sponsor and stakeholders to increase value alignment and also corrective options. So what is our reference to our PMBOK? You focus on value principle. What does it say? Value principle, it emphasizes decisions that protect intended outcome, which is part of our question here, okay? And stakeholder value rather than simply producing outputs. So in our answer here, we're engaging sponsor, we're engaging stakeholders, okay? We are also doing value alignment for corrective options. So the best mindset also that can be applied in this scenario is to measure progress against outcomes and not outputs. So progress must be against project outcomes, not just on outputs, okay? Making A the best answer because value alignment must be addressed with decision makers before more effort is actually wasted, making A the best answer. Practice question number 75. Team velocity has dropped after a reorganization. What should the project manager do first? So team velocity is how much they can do in a sprint, okay? And in this particular scenario, it has dropped. So this is our issue after reorganization. So there was a reorganization that led to the drop in team velocity, how much they can produce within a specific sprint. So let's go through the answers now. Understand the impact on team dynamics, capabilities, capacity, and also commitments. All right, this makes sense. You need to understand team dynamics. Demand the original velocity immediately. You don't demand when you're working in, especially in an agile environment where you're supposed to be a servant leader and the team is supposed to be self-organizing. You cannot demand things from them. Making this one incorrect answer. Replace the whole team. This, I'm not sure if someone is going to select this answer. You cannot replace the whole team in a project environment, making this one incorrect. Hide the change from stakeholders. You cannot hide things in a project environment. Always be transparent. Making A the best answer in this particular scenario. So the team velocity has changed after reorganization. So this is team dynamics. So you need to understand the impact of team dynamics, capacity, and also commitments, which is what has also affected the team velocity. So what is our reference in terms of our PMBOK? Resource performance domain. Okay, so this is our reference where your resource planning, estimation, and also leading the team and also monitoring. So you reorganize the team, the amount of work they were able to complete in a sprint has been reduced. So you need to understand what was the impact of that. And what is the best mindset in this particular scenario? You need to assess people and capacity impacts before action. So before reorganization, the best was to assess the capacity and also the impact, making A the best answer because organizational changes, they affect resources and even team performance, and they need analysis before you take action, making A the best answer. I hope you're enjoying the video so far. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to click the like button, subscribe button, and the notification button so that you're the first person to be notified each time a new video is uploaded on this channel. It will also help the channel to grow. It will also help the channel to produce more videos like this one. Practice question number 78. A customer wants to add sustainability reporting late in the project. Okay, it aligns with corporate goals but affects effort. What should the project manager do? So the level of difficulty here is also hard. All right, what is our problem statement? A customer, they wants to add sustainability reporting. Okay, late in the project, but it aligns with corporate goals. It's going to affect the effort. So what should the project manager do? Okay, so let's go through the answers now. Evaluate value, sustainability benefit, and impact through change. I like this one. When you start evaluating, you're going to get more information before you take action. Reject it because it was late. You don't just reject issues, risks, or things in a project environment like this, making this one incorrect. Edit secretly. Don't do anything that is not transparent. So this cannot be the answer. Remove another deliverable without approval. You don't just remove deliverables in a project. You need, in most cases, you need approvals, especially if it is a predictive environment, making this an incorrect answer. So the best answer here is A. So A is our best answer. Even if this is aligning with corporate, you still need to evaluate value, benefit, and also the impact, okay, for this sustainability reporting. What is our link to our PMBOK? Integrate sustainability within project area principles, which is page 48 to 52. What does it say? The sustainability principle encourages consideration of long-term, social, environmental, economic impacts throughout the project. And the best mindset that you can apply to this scenario is you need to consider sustainability whilst you are using governance, all right? Making A the best answer in this scenario. Why? Because sustainability can add value, but effort and trade-offs must be assessed formally, making A the best answer. Practice question number 77. A supplier proposes a design change that lowers cost, okay, but shifts maintenance burden to operation. What should the project manager do? So what is our problem statement? We have a supplier who is proposing a design change that is going to lower the cost, but it is also going to shift the maintenance burden to operations. So what should the project manager do? Involve operations and evaluate total life cycle impact, okay? I like the word involve. The moment you involve your stakeholders, you get to know more and you can come up with better solutions. Accept immediately because project cost decreases. No, you don't just accept. The project cost is going to decrease, okay? But you're now shifting the burden to operations. How is it going to affect operations when you hand over the project to operations? Making this incorrect answer. Ignore operations because they are not on the project team. Ignore operations because they are not on the project team. You don't ignore stakeholders. You engage them. You sit with them. You understand them. You try to see how are you going to work with them throughout the project. So this cannot be the answer in this scenario. Okay. Reject all supplier ideas. You don't just reject. You need to analyze, understand, and also appreciate where the other stakeholders are coming from. All right. Making A the best answer in this scenario. So A is the best answer. Even if the supplier is proposing a design change that is going to lower the cost, you still need to involve the operations because the burden is going to be shifted to operations. And you also need to evaluate the total life cycle impact. This is very, very important. What is our reference to our PMBOK? We need to adopt a holistic view principle, right? Which is also on page 30 to 39. What does a holistic view principle talk about? It considers the wider system, interactions, dependencies, stakeholder constraints, and also consequences. So what does it mean? You have a supplier who is proposing something that is going to lower the cost, but it's going to affect operations. So you need to integrate. You need to make sure all the systems, they are working together. What is the impact of integrating that? And what is the best mindset that you can apply here? You need to look beyond project delivery into operations. When you finish your project, you're going to hand over to operations. So you don't want to hand over to operations, then you start facing issues from that point onwards. Making A the best answer, because lowering project cost can reduce overall value if it harms operations. People might not accept it when you hand over to operations. Making A the best answer in this scenario. All right, practice question number 78. A risk response is implemented, but the residual risk remains high. What should the project manager do? Okay, so our problem statement here is we have a risk response that is implemented, but the residual risk, which is coming out of that implementation, is still very high. What should the project manager do? Reassess the risk and plan additional responses or escalation if needed. I like this one. When you are reassessing, you're giving yourself enough time to look at the problem, get more information, and sort it out. Close the risk because action was taken. You don't close the risk. You're being told there's still a residual risk, which is very high. So this cannot be the answer. Hide the residual risk. You don't hide anything in a project environment. You need to be transparent and honest. Then D, transfer ownership to the customer without agreement. You don't transfer without agreement. Engage. Always work with the customers. Always discuss with the customers on the best way forward, making this one an incorrect answer. So the best answer here is A, okay? You need to reassess the risk and plan additional responses or escalation if needed. So the best answer here is A. Because the risk response has been implemented, you can see it here, but there's a residual risk, which is also still very high. What is our reference to our PMBOK? It's a performance domain, all right? Risk performance domain. And the mindset that you should apply here is you need to monitor response effectiveness and residual exposure. So when you come up with your responses, when you're implementing them, you also need to assess to make sure they're very effective. Making A the best answer because implemented responses must be checked and also residual must be managed, making A the best answer. Practice question number 79, okay? The team reports that stakeholder feedback is contradictory and changes weekly. What should the project manager do? So our problem statement here is the team is reporting that a stakeholder feedback is contradictory and is changing weekly. What should the project manager do? A, facilitate prioritization and also decision rules with key stakeholders. I like this one. When you're facilitating with key stakeholders, you're bringing people together to give you solutions. Then B, ask the team to satisfy every request. You don't ask the team to satisfy every request. You need to understand, because remember, the team is reporting that the feedback is contradictory, okay? And it's changing weekly. So the best is to meet with the stakeholders here, making this one incorrect answer. Stop collecting feedback. You don't stop collecting feedback. Feedback is very important for improvement, either in the current phase or also in the next project, making this one an incorrect answer. Choose feedback randomly. You don't choose feedback randomly. You need to take all the feedback as it comes, making this one incorrect. So the best answer here is A. Okay. So you need to facilitate prioritization and also decision rules with key stakeholders. This is very important because our problem here is the team is reporting that stakeholder feedback is contradictory and is changing every week. So you need to facilitate that prioritization and also decision rules on these ones. What is our reference to PMBOK? Is a stakeholder performance domain, all right? And what is the mindset that is applicable in this particular scenario? You need to create clarity, stakeholder feedback conflicts, okay? So this is very important. If there's a stakeholder feedback that is conflicting, you need to seek clarification from the stakeholders. Therefore, making A the best answer because feedback needs structured prioritization and also decision-making to protect delivery, making A the best answer. Practice question number 80. A senior manager wants a task assigned to their preferred resource, even though that resource lacks capacity. What should the project manager do? Okay. So our problem statement, we have a senior manager who wants a task assigned to their preferred resource, even though that resource lacks capacity, right? So let's go through the answers. Review capacity, role fit, and impacts before agreeing. Okay, makes sense. Agree immediately to maintain the relationship. You don't agree to things in a project for relationship purposes. Everything that you do in a project, it must be linked to project objectives and goals and even value, business value you're deriving from there, not relationships. So making this one incorrect answer. Overload the resource silently. You don't overload anyone in a project. That's not a good mindset. So making this one incorrect answer. Remove the task from the schedule. You don't remove the task. What if the task is going to produce a very important deliverable or create a very important milestone? You don't do that in a project environment. Making A the best answer in this particular scenario. So you need to review the capacity, the raw fit, and also the impact before agreeing. Because remember, you want to assign this to a preferred resource who is also lacking capacity. So you need to review the capacity, raw fit, and also the impact. How do we link it back to our PMBOK? You have a resource performance domain, okay? And what is the best mindset in this particular scenario? You need to balance stakeholder request with resource reality, okay? What does it mean? If there's a request from stakeholder, you also need to assess your resources and also you also need to assign your tasks accordingly. Making A the best answer because resource decisions should consider capacity, project impact, and not just influence alone. Making A the best answer. If you want me to create more videos based on what we've gone through in this video, you can reach out to me or you can let me know in the comment section below.